is we do have a handout, I think we all have it, called The Blunt Truth, and some of the negative aspects about it. We all have that, but right at this stage, is Mark?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If you would, and I don't know if this committee, again, I know you said you want to hear from everybody, and if you would, my testimony would be a little bit longer than the time left, if we've got to be out of here at 10:30. I would appreciate the opportunity, obviously, to testify, but also have a conference call on bike week that I need to make here very shortly. That's also very important. And so, if I could be allowed to testify, if this committee is going to meet again, I would very much appreciate that.
If you'll just hold 1 second, I told you my position would be to move it favorably at some point, maybe not today. Is the committees, want to carry it over, take it up one more time before January?
Mr. Chairman, I think because we got some people who are here who haven't testified yet, and we want to get it right, as the Senator from Beaufort said, I do think, while I'm not opposed to hearing some more right now, I think if we just go ahead now and just to say we're going to carry, I'd move that at the end of today's session, we carry it over for another subcommittee.
So, Skill, you're excused, and we'll make sure you have all the time you need at our next meeting. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. At this point in time, it's about 10 after 10, and we have to be out of the room at 10:30. So, I mean, I can go through the list. How would you all like to do it from a committee standpoint? Should we? Yes. Has anybody driven 2 to 3 hours that would like to testify? I'm going to ask the lady in the back if she would, then I'll try to catch you. And let me ask, since there are so many people.
Yes, mine will be real brief. I can break it down, no problem.
That's not, you read my mind. You got the simple things down. Yeah, if we could, have 5 minutes or less, that way we can get 3 or 4 people.
3 minutes less.
That'd be fine. Sit down, please, and introduce yourself, and thank you for being here.
Good morning. I would like, first of all, to say thank you very much for taking time to speak to me, Senator Bright, Senator Davis, Senator Kennedy, Sherry Hunter, and Senator Nixon. My name is Rosemary James Wallace. I live in Rock Hill, South Carolina, but I'm a dual resident of Denver, Colorado. And I've heard many statements in the last couple of days since I've been here about medical marijuana use. First of all, let me say I am for medical marijuana only. And if I don't know if anybody's seen the documentary this past week that is aired on MTV called My Parents Smoked Marijuana. I am part of that show that shows people using excessive marijuana. I didn't stand for it then. I'm not standing for it now because I am a radio talk show host. I talk about this many days and many times of uses for children here with CBD oils. I constantly preached it throughout the United States. You're the fourth group I've been to testify. I'm also a veteran. I've been married 28 years to a retired first sergeant. I've had to fight in my household to get my husband, a die-hard military man, to understand what I needed for this for post-traumatic stress disorder. South Carolina is only one of the few states in the country that takes care of their soldiers by putting this on the bill. This bill is very important. For the fact is, we have so many soldiers in this state alone that suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I get to talk to them on a frequent basis at the VA hospital. They're far beyond what I go through. And that's why I'm here today to take a couple minutes of your time to stress that this bill needs to be passed. Every time we speak, every hour that clock ticks, we're losing another veteran, we're losing another soldier to suicide. We're averaging 22 to 25 retired or active duty soldiers a day that is committing suicide. I have started my career in the United States Army right here at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and it's an honor and a privilege to testify here today about it in the place where I started from. I don't want any more soldiers to go through the constant pills and medication I've taken. I've taken Prozac. I'm going to give you a quick list of them real quick. I'm nervous and I want to make sure I get through. Prozac, lithium. The list goes on and on. I've been on 27 different medications. The last one I was on was in 2012. I'm driving down Interstate 77 in Rock Hill, supposed to be getting off at 77. I wound up getting off at 73. I completely blacked out and forgot where I was going. I've been driving that interstate for 5 years. So I'm urging you to please to take every testimony that you're hearing here to heart. I've sat here in North Carolina, I've heard some of the heartbreaking testimonies on why these bills should be passed. South Carolina alone has the best protection policies in place. Colorado, I personally know alone, is going backwards trying to cover up what y'all have put in these bills. And by it being from seed to stem is the best way of doing it. I see it, I hold a medical marijuana card from the state saying that I need this medication. I missed my husband 6 months out the year. He has been in the Army 26 years. We have been on enough deployments, enough. So I'm asking you, please, to take the time out in this committee and the next, and I'll continue to beat these committees flying back and forth throughout the United States until this gets passed. Thank you very much for your time, and God bless you.
Stay right there, Rosemary. Did you have any questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you for bringing that up. At this point in time, there's a Steva Kaiser. Would you like to come up, Steva? And her daughter, I guess, maybe had to move to Colorado. I think she was.
I have a handout if you would.
We'll
This might
have someone
help.
come get it.
It's a
and then-
visual. I too am a dual resident of Colorado. Almost 2 years ago, I moved my daughter and my 2 grandsons to Colorado. My grandson Ezra was born with seizure disorder. We exhausted everything in the state of South Carolina. We spent 2 trips to Duke, over $1 million in medical costs at Duke University alone. We went to Michigan. Basically, his story was much like Anna's. If you saw the ladies back here crying, we so related to that. He left Duke University with a list of 14 medications. We were losing him. He was not getting better. So when we went to Colorado, the CBD oil was a godsend. It was the best medication we ever had for him with no side effects. So I was very excited about the CBD legislation last year. However, what I really wanted to speak to you about is not to limit the bill. Ezra developed dystonia, which is very painful spasms, and you can see in the picture in front of you, this was not at his worst. And I'll hold this up for these behind us. Ezra's spasms were so bad, they literally pulled his spine backwards. He's in an inverted C there. The spasms eventually broke his right hip, both of his femur bones, and his right ankle in several places. This was with morphine, multiple medications. We went, Colorado Springs could no longer help him. We were in Denver. And it was not until we started using THC oil that he was able to get relief. He is now taking CBD oil for his seizures, and those are pretty much under control unless he gets sick, and that throws him out of sync. He takes a THCA for his muscle tone. He cannot walk, and so his bones and muscles have not developed properly. And he takes THC for pain, which we are now able to reduce. This is Ezra today. He's 3 years old. You can see his hands are very loose. Before he was so clenched from the spasms, he had sores in his hands from clenching. If you look at the top picture, you will see he's holding stuffed animals, and that's to keep him from clenching his hands and clenching his legs and trying to relieve the pressure. He is much, much, much better. He still has a long way to go, but he is now becoming somewhat verbal. He can, give us gestures showing that he wants to eat and so forth. And I'm here about Ezra's story, but what I also want to tell you is what I have seen in the 2 years that I have been in Colorado. I could give you story after story after story of children who, like Dixie, that was here. One of the first children I met was Sydney, was about Dixie's age. And I know you've got time. But anyway, she is now running flying heights. We
Steve,
have
I think
kids moving
Senator
home.
Davis had a question.
And
Yes,
just,
sir.
I wanted to emphasize a point that you just
If you
made.
just sit down to the microphone if you would.
And-
I'm
that-
sorry, I'm a teacher at
No, that's
Just
okay.
That's no problem.
First of all, thank you for coming and sharing the stories. I think
Yes.
it's the stories and the way that people's lives are affected are what changes hearts and minds here in this General Assembly, so thank you for taking the time. The important thing that I picked up from what you're saying is, although what we authorized last year, the CBD, the cannabis extract that is high in the CBD but low THC, helped, but that there is also some additional benefits that are necessarily associated with higher THC levels. And so I think that's what I heard you say, that in regard to Ezra, the CBD helped with the seizures, but then the THC component of the cannabis plant provides additional relief. And I think that's one of the reasons for this bill, members of the committee, is seeking to expand the types of derivatives of the cannabis plant that can be used. And this is an excellent example of how what we authorized last year has helped, but we shouldn't restrict it when there is empirical evidence that it can help in other respects.
Exactly. Very good. Thank you for clarifying that.
No,
You said it right.
And I would like to also add to that, you know, what I have seen in my experience is not just the kids with seizure disorder. Because of Ezra and because people have contacted me, there's a husband with Alzheimer's that the wife was afraid that she was going to be injured. They were going to have to institutionalize him. He is now using a THC capsule, and he is so much better. A teenage son with autism, again, reaching puberty, out of control, he is benefiting. A college professor with anxiety disorder who does not want to be labeled, you know, is doing the same thing. There's so many different ways that it can help.
Said it right.
Yes, sir.
So what you're saying, because I was involved and I supported the CBD oil, you're saying that this bill would give access to even more medication that would help these that aren't currently being helped by the oil would have much greater benefits to the THC.
That is my desire, is to please make what is needed available to those who need it. And if I could just say one other thing, I appreciate what you're doing, and I've been following you, Senator Davis, and I'm very impressed with your knowledge and what you've been doing. I've been in Colorado when it was medical marijuana, and also now that it is recreational. I have yet to hear someone who has been unhappy with what is happening there at the marijuana situation. As I've talked with people, everyone has had an experience or they know someone who has benefited. And I know, a lot of people say the word recreational, but so much of it is really self-medicating. You know, if you've had a hard day and you have a glass of wine to wind down, make no mistake, that's a drug, and you're self-medicating. So many people in this state are self-medicating because it does help them. In Colorado, you cannot go into the grocery store and buy alcohol. You have to go to a state licensed store, just like you have to go into a state licensed dispensary.
Stephen,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you very much for your testimony. We have
Thank you.
Chris Ellis from Arizona. I guess he's traveled a little bit far, so he has.
Mr. Chair, I'll defer to future meetings, but that would be good.
Okay, it's 10:20. Would you like to, in the front row would you have anything that? You got up there before. Let's put it this way. We got about 4 minutes left and I didn't want to cut you out.
I can do the super quick thing.
Okay.
Let's talk about some numbers right quick. South Carolina is 51st in education.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is John McDaniel. I'm from Charleston. I've traveled roughly 20 hours to speak to my elected representatives for, this now makes 28 minutes after my 2 minutes. Okay, so let's talk about numbers. Y'all each essentially represent 100,000 constituents. 1 in 25 people will develop epilepsy at some time in their life. Quick math says that you, and Mr. Otto is gone, each represent 4,000 epileptics at some point in their life. Right now, you represent 4,000 people that can benefit from passing a medical marijuana bill. That's not talking about the 30,000 people that you each represent that suffer from chronic pain. I was run over by a 10,000-pound forklift. My foot feels like it's in boiling water. If I had more time, I could tell you all about the pain from hell. It's called dysthesias. It is, it's a neural disease. It gets worse over time based on traumatic experiences. There's something called a presynaptic neuronal excitability inhibitor. It's called THC. What it does is it turns the volume down on my pain. So it's very important to pass a medical marijuana bill as soon as possible. The only problems that I see with it, I see a bunch of problems, I'm sorry. I see a bunch of problems with it. The main problem is from a philosophical standpoint, the easiest way to supply the greatest number of people is to remove barriers from supplying them. Whenever you have one distributor per county, instead of one distributor per, say, 100,000 people, or say as many distributors as the market can support, then you are denying accessibility to medicine that can improve people's lives on a daily basis.
If I could just real quickly, and John, I agree with what you just said. My goal is to get a bill passed to go ahead so we can go ahead and start cultivating, start dispensing, and knowing South Carolina and knowing the concerns of law enforcement and knowing the concerns of many in regard to diversion or recreational use, I have consciously gone about developing a very conservative, very transparent, very methodical bill because I think that has the best chances of passing. I don't disagree with you at all in regard to a lot of the points that you made, but I wanted to let you know that my objective is to go ahead and address all the concerns so we can get something passed. And so anyway, I'll just say that.
Thank you, and you just got 30 seconds, John.
As far as Chief Kill, I'll be back to do more after Chief Kill testifies. Also, the Blunt Truth conference that they held was an absolute farce. One of their facts, the very first fact they put up on their fact or fiction thing was that cannabis in all forms is illegal in the state of South Carolina, and Mr. Davis knows for a fact that that is not true. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, let me tell you all before you leave, thank you all for being here today, expressing your interest. If you don't understand the rules of the Senate, this is a Senate bill. What, did you want to testify? No, you came from Burles Inlet. He's a patient of mine, dental patient. Anyway, and his dad's my dad's my CPA, so we're good friends. Anyway, at this point in time, what I would say to you is this. The way the Senate works is for bills to be taken up in the House, they have to be in the House by May 1st. Of course, May 1st is gone and passed. So any bill we were to pass today would have to go to full committee, and then it would have to go to the floor. We know we can't achieve that with only 8 days left. So our intent would be, and I think Senator Davis' intent would be, to review this bill probably before session starts. Give it a good hearing with Chief Kill, try to answer all the questions so that maybe in the first few days of session next year, we've got time to get it to the full, got time to get it to the floor, got time to get it to the House, where it can just fly through there. So, Senator Davis, let's
closing comments. This is the first year in a 2-year session. Based on the information that I've heard, and the input I've received, and the technology that's out there, there will be a bill passed. There will be a bill signed by Governor Haley. We are going to address all the concerns that SLED has. We're going to address the concerns that physicians have. We're going to address the concerns pharmacists have. We're going to address the concerns growers have. And we're going to get this done because it's absolutely critical that we go ahead and make available to people who are suffering things that their doctors believe can be a benefit. And I don't think there's any reason, I have not heard any reason whatsoever compelling in any way to interfere with that physician-patient relationship. And so this is going to get done. It got done last year. You guys coming out and sharing those stories is going to drive this across the finish line, and we're going to come up with a bill that we can be proud of and that provides relief. So thank you all for coming, and to be continued.
Motion. All in favor? Thank you all for coming.